Hello anybody, Don Polec here with another look at the history of my world, where the stories that I did on the evening news were oftentimes unusual, offbeat, maybe a little weird, but there were two stories that I want to share with you that were truly bizarre, to a point where I couldn't explain what it was that I just saw, what I just experienced. I mean, this first one had me baffled. It has me baffled to this day. But I guess that's what you have to expect when you encounter a psychic dog.
Nancy Yarrow's flashcards are the usual kind that you'd use to tutor a 5-year-old. It's the 5-year-old she tutors who's unusual.
Sweetie's a Maltese, and she's the most loving, wonderful, loyal dog.
And the most literate canine around.
B.
With an uncanny ability to, among other things,
A.
correctly identify letters of the alphabet no matter what they are.
R.
Or where they're placed, with an accuracy that would qualify her for some of the better preschools in the area.
O. She's always been very bright, and she learned the names of her toys really quickly. Mousy. Well, then we went to letters, and then I got numbers, and she knew the numbers. 3. And then it just expanded from there. I don't know how she knows all these things, but the first time everything was put in front of her, she knew what it was.
Dog. Are all Maltese this smart, or do you know, or?
My last Maltese I couldn't teach to sit. This one is a savant of some kind. Spell Rob. We feel she's reincarnated. And I put out all 26 letters, and I asked her to spell out who she was, and she spelled out M-O-M 10 times. So then I asked her to spell out who she was, and she spelled out Dorothy, who's my mother's name. And that may be why she knows some of these things. 4 clubs. And she knows every playing card. She says, I love you. What? I love you.
Okay, so she sounds like she's taking diction lessons from Scooby-Doo. But listen, you have to figure that any dog that can spell and do arithmetic better than some of the accountants at Arthur Anderson and tell time
12 o'clock.
can probably hire somebody to talk on the phone for them.
It's been spooky going through all this process with her because every time we discover something new that she can do is exciting.
And can be used to build upon what she's already learned for whole new possibilities.
Okay, you know what this is, right? Very good. Now let's see how smart you are. Would you hit on this if the dealer is showing a face card?
Nancy Yarrows and her dog Sweetie.
Exactly right. But you got 21.
I'm Don Polec, Channel 6 Action News.
It turns out the dog was also a card counter, so she's been banned from every casino in Atlantic City. But in terms of what she could do, I'm fairly open-minded. I'm not going to immediately dismiss the idea of reincarnation or mental telepathy, but I'm more likely to lean toward a more rational explanation, like the dog was being signaled somehow. Because I did notice that the dog was always intently looking at the face of the lady when she was giving her commands. As a result, I started looking intently at the face of the lady as she was giving her commands, and I was just looking for if she was signaling the dog somehow with her eyes, with a twitch, with a blink, and I couldn't see anything. Neither could anybody else, apparently, because the dog went on to appear on The Tonight Show and many other nationally syndicated programs. You know, had made a nice little career for herself, but I still can't explain how she was able to do that. But that pales in comparison to this next story, which is one that I did just a couple of months after I was first hired as a feature reporter. I was still trying to figure out ways to, come up with fun and interesting stories when my news director came up to me and said, "Hey, I just read this story about this guy who can levitate a card table." Well, yeah, that sure would be something to see. Now, this guy was like 2.5 or 3 hours away from us, but boy, if I could get some film of that, it would make a fantastic story. So I give the guy a call. He's very accommodating. He says, "Sure, come on down. I'll do it for you." So we went down there, and I'll tell you right now, he didn't completely levitate the card table off the floor, but what he was able to do is pretty wild. Take a look.
In a small town named Candor, New York, about 20 miles east of Elmira, is the business office of a very likable young man named Phil Jordan. He's a school teacher and a sheriff's deputy, but he's also a psychic. And like other psychics, he claims he can move a wooden table using mental energy.
I think that we're just utilizing that energy field around the natural substance of the wood in the table and causing it to levitate.
So you're saying you act as sort of a channel for everybody else's energy also?
Yeah, I believe so, a catalyst, just sort of channeling that energy.
Phil Jordan claims that wood seems to work best, so he works with an ordinary, beat-up-looking, beer-stained wooden card table and causes it to do something that seems incredible. He's at the center of your picture as we all lightly touch the table. Now, supposedly, drawing energy from me and from a Tioga County Sheriff's deputy that we brought in, he's causing the table to rise. Now, I know the Sheriff's deputy and I aren't doing anything, but the question is, can he somehow be faking this?
That's hard to say, but I could duplicate what I've seen by use of fakery or magician's methods.
I believe that the standard explanations for table levitation are not operative in cases I've seen, in cases I've studied. The explanations, as a matter of fact, are kind of infantile.
Indeed, Phil Jordan is not using standard magician methods. The table is normal enough, his sleeves are rolled up, his ring is not magnetized, but we made him take it off anyway. Is he perhaps pushing on the table to tilt it? Or maybe he's got super glue on his fingers. In any case, we made him put his hands in plastic bags and then asked him to do it again. And he did. In fact, with all of our hands in the center of the table, and as I was moving Phil Jordan's hands around on the surface to prove to myself that he wasn't pushing, the table still rose. Phil Jordan has performed for teams of scientists at Kent State University in Ohio who put stringent controls on him. Still, he did the same thing, and the scientists were baffled.
Well, I've worked for doctors and lawyers, and I find the more intelligent, scientific the people are, the more easily they're fooled. You have to have a brain to fool.
He creates effects that I am positive are psychokinetic.
I don't see there's any possibility that the mind moving matter.
I don't know what to make of Phil Jordan. All I know is if he is a magician, then he is good, because he sure fooled me, and he's fooled virtually everyone that's ever tried to prove him a fraud.
One interesting thing about Phil Jordan, though, is that he doesn't feel that his alleged powers come from witchcraft or the devil or anything like that. He thinks that they're natural human abilities that everybody has and that anybody can learn how to develop. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, wouldn't that be something? Don Polec, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so I was still trying to nail down how to do the, as my friend and former colleague Eric Schoenfeld would term it, the sacco finish. And Eric, I know you're watching. You have no idea how much pressure that always put me under. You know, I gotta come up with a sacco finish, but never mind that. How about what that guy did? I mean, when you see it, the first thing you probably say is, there I am at a table with these two strangers, two people I've never met before. Maybe they're in cahoots and they're doing something. That's not the case, because before we filmed that, my camera person and I were the two people with the psychic. We weren't doing anything. So whatever it was he was doing, he was able to do by himself. And like I said, I've taken magic courses, so I know the basic principles of magic and the techniques that are used. And there were no wires. There wasn't an electromagnet on the roof. Magnets don't attract wood anyway, but I mean, I could not figure that out. And if there's any magicians out there who have any idea how he did that, Penn and Teller, if you're watching, just message me or something. You don't have to explain. I know there's a magician's code, you know. You don't have to explain exactly how he did it. Just give me a general area to think about, because this thing has kept me awake. It hasn't really, but I mean, it's baffled me for 40 years. I mean, this is something I just can't explain, and it was one of the most wild experiences ever. Now, it could be exactly what he said. He's able to channel people's energy. Now, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, like I said before, wouldn't that be something? See, Eric, I'm getting better at the sacco finish. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.